And recording. So I wanted to get back to a band that I've done twice before. Um, just because I noticed within the last like month or so, um, well, it just came across my home page, and I saved it to my watch later playlist. Just because I remember enjoying the first two songs like a lot. I think the first one I did was Sugar, which is about like cocaine or heroin. I think heroin. That's what it was about. It was really like a sludgy, like grimy, uh, really cool sounding song. And then there was another one that had more like an operatic, orchestral kind of like presentation to it that like really moved me. I don't know, like it hit something here and like here in my lizard brain. Just because it kind of reminded me of like my childhood a little bit. So like I have been meaning to get back to them, and so when it came across my home page, I was just like, perfect. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna watch it later. It should it should likely be very very awesome. I'm probably gonna enjoy it. So Fleshgod Apocalypse. Let's see. The song is called Pendulum. Let's see. It's roughly 4 minutes, and this is Nuclear Blast Records. This was from 11 months ago. So I imagine this is going to be from the most recent album. Here it says by Italian symphonic metal giants. And this is their sixth album, which is apparently called Opera. So it makes sense with everything I just said. And this looks cool as shit, which is another reason why I put it in my watch later playlist. Because when you see this still, like this just looks awesome. Go! Pausing it there. I don't want to, but it's at more or less the halfway point. So, for what I remember of the other two awesome, awesome tracks, this is the best one I've heard so far. Like, this just sounds great. I fucking love this. Like, this is my shit. Like, this sound is what I like. I like this so much, so much. God damn. Sixth album. This is only the third song of theirs I've heard, so god damn. I love the presentation visually, the narrative, because immediately when it starts, You're paying attention to like the cool sort of like headdresses and outfits that the women are wearing. And then almost immediately you start to realize that they seem to be a representation of the fates, because there's a lot of like string and like red string or yarn or whatever you want to call, which like um, I believe represents like each string is a person's life. So they're ready to. One of them makes the string, one of them pulls the string, and the other one cuts the string. It's like the maiden, the mother, the crone. I said the last one wrong. Yeah, but there's always a trinity of women. Uh, it's a big motif. You get that a lot. Maiden, mother, crone. That's what it is. But then immediately it shifts to the guy hanging upside down in those same kind of strings, but the background's red and it almost looks like a heart. So all those strings now become all the capillaries and the veins of a body, and the way his eyes look. And then the other guy, the bald headed guy with the vein popping out, it almost has like a vampire kind of look to it. And you think of pendulums like on a clock. So time, if these are the fates and they're gonna cut someone's lifeline, the time you have remaining, but also like with a vampire, like everything's blood and just like someone who's trying to stay alive longer, because you think of like vampires as being immortal. So him being wrapped up in those veins, it's just like your time on earth as a vampire is wrapped up in how much blood you actually like consume. Like all the visual concepts are real fucking cool. The the drumming's fucking awesome. uh the use of the piano was great, and then there's all these sort of breaks with a dun dun, like a bunch of drops. This is fucking awesome. I love it. I love it. I fucking love this. Let's go back a little bit. Dreams made of light fill my body. Wiping the vision straight into my brain. Like that meat hanging by thread. I start my food. You get the empty desire. Fucking perfect. His life's hanging on by a thread. He's all wrapped up. Meanwhile, they're there ready to cut the thread. Like, it's just perfect. It's perfect. And that solo where the piano was doing almost the exact same um, like rhythm and melody as the guitar solo, like it's perfect. It's fucking perfect. Like even just like the woman's voice. And the second song I heard, whose name escapes me, is something like a orchestra or like apocalypse orchestra or something. I forget what it was called. But I remember it being more like genuine operatic as far as like what you think of an opera would sound like. In this one, it had more just modern melodic melodies and like the costuming, the presentation, everything fucking awesome. Like I figured I would like this because I liked the other two songs, but this is fucking awesome. like I'm saying the same thing over and over, but just because like this is making such an impression on me that it just sounds so great. I wasn't expecting it to sound like just this good. Let's see, vocals. Francisco as himself and Veronica as Fate. Yeah, it's so self-explanatory. But like obviously visually narrative they did a good job in the presentation. It was obvious. It just looks cool as shit. I'll kill myself without realizing it, nail after nail until the bitter end. Love for the unknown is what brought me up here, where air is so thin that we can barely breathe and the mountain tops are, yeah. But better not look down, Fate. But this time you went too far. Oh, come on. So that goes back to the sort of vampire kind of like presentation that I kind of saw. Because, like, you went too far. You can only live so long. We have to cut this thread eventually. I'll kill myself without realizing it because you went too far. Or it could also be like there's sort of like a motif you see sometimes in like vampire stories where they'll drink the blood from like a prostitute in those stories, and the prostitute has like an STD, so like in order to live he has to feed, but then the blood is poison. So if you drink to live, but that's what kills you, I'll kill myself without realizing it. Maybe that's what they mean. Maybe they don't. That wasn't necessarily present in the narrative. But let's see. But this time you went too far. Oh, come on. On the path of no return. I can't believe it. I'm falling down straight to fucking hell. I'm assuming that's what that is. There's only two dashes there. I'm dying. Help. Nobody hears. The dead is the man who cannot give up. Haunted by the fear of dishonor, dreams made of lead fill my barrel. Dreams, dreams made of lead fill my barrel. Barrel of a gun. The lead is the bullet. Dreams made of lead. You want to die, so maybe he did it on purpose. Huh. Let's see. Waiting to be shot straight into my brain. My Russian roulette. So Russian roulette, it's always a chance. So the things you do, if you lead a lifestyle that's risky, in this case, if you're a vampire, you never know what's in the blood that you're drinking. So like it's always like a game of Russian roulette, because again, it could be diseased, it could be poison. So every time you go out and do the thing, my Russian roulette, I'm falling down straight to fucking hell. I'm dying, help. Because now you feel it. You're in pain. Like once you do it, then it's just like, what can I do? It's already been done. And now I'm just suffering. And it's like, am I alive? Am I dying? Because it's sustenance, but it's poison? What do I do? I'm dying. Help. Nobody hears the dead. Then fate. Like dead meat hanging by a thread, which was visualized in the video. Let's see. You get the end you deserve sooner or later. There's no immortality. Everyone has their time. Everyone is subject to fate and eventually will get their life cut. Lost soul, swinging between life and death in a world upside down like a bat. Fool, walking on the edge. And now I'm a goddamn pendulum. That makes me think almost like nothing to do with the video. You think of like James Bond being trapped, and there's a pendulum swinging, getting ever closer with like an axe, and the more time goes, the lower it gets. Yeah, that's tangent. Let's see. Fool! Walking on the edge, and now I'm a goddamn pendulum. Come up against this inglorious end. Yes, a fucking pendulum. I'm falling down straight to fucking hell. I'm dying. Help. The fucking pendulum. Then it looks like there's a little, what does it say? Death, our inevitable ruin that calls for us sooner or later. Many who are fortunate enough to temporarily escape its fatal clutches experience life altering changes, finding renewed purpose, rejuvenated creative spirit, and a reawakening of the soul. Such as the story goes for Fleshgod Apocalypse frontman Francisco Paoli, who in 2021 was involved in a tragic mountain climbing accident that left him clinging to life with years of recovery ahead and ultimately inspiring the band's first music in years. Inspired by horrific event, the new single Pendulum swings with intense ferocity and baroque classical movements, seething with anguished pain. Commenting on the song, Francisco Paoli says, "This is the first song we released since my Dance with Death, the Dance Macabre, back in August 2021. So, almost 4 years since the event and the new music, even though this was released roughly a year ago, so 1 year less than what I just said. It's obvious that such a life-changing event would have affected our music. It took a toll on me physically and mentally, and sharing my experience is also part of my healing process. Pendulum is just the opening chapter of a bigger story, which is yet to be told." That's interesting. And then adds about the video. The music video realized by visionary Italian director Martina L. McLean. It doesn't sound Italian, but who am I to say? Turned my unfortunate incident into a monumental visual experience, an awe-inspiring blend of obscure symbolism. That didn't seem obscure. Surreal architectures, that's true, and nightmarish mythological creatures. It perfectly portraits the struggle and the desperation of that day. A day of defeat, but also the day of my rebirth. Huh. That's really cool. And it's funny because I did get those vampire kind of feelings, and the song itself sounded very dangerous because of all the stops it had. So, dan, 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 dan. So like you always get this. You keep getting this feeling of like darkness of something that's coming for you, and it's sort of unexpected, and it can happen at any given time because it's not following necessarily a conventional rhythm or beat. So it just sort of like, and again, like pendulum, so like it's swinging. It's cool. It's really cool, and it's one of those things where like obviously like big events that happen to you um, are very transformative. Mm. With the imagery of the fates, especially the way I always sort of envision the fates is the one at the spool, at the wheel. Her meaning is just like, I'm just creating. I'm creating. I just want things to happen. I'm making things happen. I'm bringing them into existence. That's all I care about. Um, I don't care about how they live or what happens to them. I'm just making them. Then the one in the middle is sort of just like spreading it and just like, yes, this is life. This is the life. I'm um, I'm the experience you have. And then the third, the crone, who I think in this video was the one who had sort of like the dried out, white, almost decaying kind of looking face. Excuse me. Which associates, you would associate with like death. At any time it could happen. Anytime she's just trying to decide, all right, you've lived enough. That's enough. Let's move on to the next one. And you can see at the tail end of the video, she was trying to cut the whole thing, but he managed to get himself free from his predicament where he was hanging upside down um, because of the mountain and like the situation obviously that the front man lived through. He got free, was able to stop her from cutting it, and threw away the scissors so that he can continue his life. Because that's what happened. It's a near death experience. And it just, the way it was represented is so fucking cool. And this is one of those things I think that resonates with me because like I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this because like there's so many times where like you could have died. And in this case with him, he was mountain climbing and then just like fell and was hanging upside down and like, and you just sit there contemplating like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. And after the fact, I could have died. I could have died. And then you either wallow in that and you're just like, I'm a dead man. And all this is just borrowed time because I should have died. And I resonate with that because when I was 25, little tangent, I remember because I used to bike to work all the time. When I was 25, I remember specifically getting ready, getting dressed, getting on my bike, and heading to work. And I think it was maybe like 8 in the morning or something. So like a lot of traffic. I remember biking, going down a freeway underpass, and then nothing. Then I have a brief recollection of like being, I was lying down and I'm trying to get up. Someone puts their hand on my chest and then nothing. And then brief flashes of being in an MRI machine and then nothing. And then waking up in a hospital bed because I had gotten hit by a car. And it was one of those days where I think the weather was really warm, and so it's just like, oh no, it wasn't warm. I think it was the beginning of spring, so it was still a little cool. So I think I had like a long sleeve thermal and like shorts, no helmet, but got hit by a car, concussion, and again, no helmet. Apparently, I broke that person's windshield because I went back first into it and just skidded over the roof of it and then skidded on the pavement, on the ground, for God knows how many feet. And that's one of those things where, like, I probably should have died. No helmet, concussion, and it just so happened I was wearing a long sleeve shirt which protected my like upper body as much as it could. My back got fucked up. But yeah, I'm sure like I'm not the only one that's ever been in like an accident or had some sort of experience where you're at after the fact you kind of think I probably should have died, or maybe I did die and this is hell. You go through those there's those trauma kind of responses that you get. So I can sympathize and completely understand where the guy Francisco Paoli, I think his name was, like the kind of feeling you have from that and how that emotion wells up inside you and comes out as this, because there's just like this, not only the pain of the event and the sort of mental anguish of having gone through it, but also like there's that sort of, here it's not necessarily a survivor's guilt, because the way it was represented in the video, the narrative, he was fighting hard to survive, and he was fighting hard to prevent fate from cutting that thread. So he was fighting and trying his damnedest to make sure that he lived, as opposed to a situation where you have no control, like say you get hit by a car and then you're just blacked out from the concussion and you have no control over events and it's completely in someone else's hands. But in this case, he had so much control and there's so much fight against like nature, because it's a mountain, you're conquering nature, and then nature tries to kill you. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just because all these synapses are sort of making connections, and it's just like not funny, haha, but it's funny, like strange how much I'm connecting to this. Like I've had other events where like I feel like I probably should have died, and I'm pretty sure that happens with like a lot of people, just because accidents happen all the time, and oftentimes you don't necessarily even think about like what could have been. You're just like, oh, that was weird, or like you're not paying attention and you almost walk out into traffic because you thought the light was green and you're not really paying attention, but then you go, whoop, save myself. Or like here's another thing that happened when I was younger. I was on a bus in middle school because there was a honors program at a school like 10 miles away, so they would send a bus to pick us up. I remember the bus ride's pretty long, so I'd go to sleep. I'm on a window seat, put my head against the glass. Then someone calls my name. I wake up. I'm just like, hey, what's going on? And a bottle hits the window, the exact window that I was at. So because I moved my head, the bottle, the glass, it missed hitting me. So like that shit happens all the time. It's freaky. It's weird. And it's not one of those things where like, serendipitous or like you're alive for a reason. No, it's just luck. It's all random. But again, in this video, in this case, he fought for life. He fought to live. And the way it then becomes expressed in the danger and almost anger that comes across in the music. Beautiful. It's beautiful. I fucking love this. I fucking love this.